Welcome to the Tim Castle Live Show, where we meet courageous people doing inspirational things around the world. All right, I want to welcome you to a series myself and Chris Jarvis, author of Be the Giraffe, have put together for your listening pleasure. And I think there's just so many moments of gold packed into this, moments that will transform you. I've broken them into sessions of 20 minutes so that you can get maximum value. If you're on a walk, on a run, on the way to work, on a commute, on a bus, on a train, on a plane, wherever you are, just take this 20 minutes and absorb these lessons. Be the Giraffe is phenomenal. It's a book that touched my soul, and I believe it will touch yours. It will transform you. It will change how you approach that stress, that overwhelm, and actually just living a better life. And being able to do it across all verticals, across wealth, health, fun, happiness. Chris has the Wild Factor. And that's also a tool that you can go to chrisjarvis.me/Wild Factor to download. So I recommend you do that. This is a very special series coming from me and Chris to you to help you change your life, to transform and to get more out of life, more of the good stuff. So without further ado, welcome to the series.
You literally go, right, I have noticed how, yes, I can build a thicker skin, and I really would like to dial down how I feel when I'm around these comments. And you get ownership over that, but then you go, but this is who I'm going to fill my time with. These are the people in my tower that are going to elevate me again and help me, rise and want to see my unique strengths come out.
Yeah, I mentioned in the book a good friend of mine, Doug Hostetler. He's in his 60s, so he's not, I guess mathematically he's old enough maybe to be my father. It would have been a heck of a stretch. But he's a little older than I, probably half a generation older, so he's not quite that old. But
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s, he's in his 60s, so it's really not, not quite that. But he's a wonderful human being, and he's another guy who's very faithful and has a super strong faith. And even though we don't share that belief in common, we share a lot of values in common. And I struggled with him because I was in the financial services industry and I do things very differently. And I've almost left the industry multiple times because I didn't fit in, and I didn't value the same kinds of things, and I didn't act the same way, and I just saw it. They see it. I shouldn't say that. My impression was that a lot of people in financial services are attracted to the wealth and making money. And I struggled with that. And I struggled that I wanted to change the entire way people practice, the way they make money, the way they interact, and focus on the value of, I want to remove the pain, the uncertainty, the stress that comes with money. So I took a whole different approach. And Doug gave me this piece of advice that we should only seek the praise of the praiseworthy. And I'm assuming because it was coming from him, there's probably some biblical reference in there. But just the idea, it doesn't need to be biblical or religious in any way, but we should seek the praise and the respect of people that are worthy of our praise and whom we respect. And we should spend no time whatsoever, like zero time, worrying about the opinions of people that we don't love, trust, and respect. And that's a big one. Like, it's a really big one. That what do you care what somebody, that statement, what other people think of you is none of your business.
Mm-hmm.
It's, again, who cares what the they, the internet, the social media, the algorithm, like, who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, seek the praise of the praiseworthy. For me, with this book, I could have spent $250,000, $500,000, promoted the heck out of it, gotten in the hands of 1 trillion people, dealt with all of the things that happened with that. Instead, I've sent out probably 500 to 1,000 copies on my own nickel.
Yep.
It has been sold in Kindle, Audible, print, paperback, in different places. The responses are good. I'm sending it to people whose opinion I respect, to see, hey, what did you and people I hope that will get something out of it because I know them. And when I send a book, I usually send 2 with a note, hey, this is one for you and one for somebody you'd like to see, be happier, more fulfilled, more successful. And that's the thing. I'm more worried about the impact to a small number of people than I
Mm,
am about the reach of somebody liking a comment. Like, who cares? I can't, it's not currency. It's like,
mm,
so yeah, to me, it was a big deal. That was the reconciliation of social media. That, do I care about nameless, faceless people, or do I care about the people closest to me?
mm. And and that helps with your focus. It helps with everything because you're turning the dial down on all the different distractions and parts of the herd that at each level of success, there's almost like a new herd, and you need to break. I can just feel it as you're talking. Like I love these conversations because they almost answer questions for myself. And like it feels like you escape one herd, you get into the next, you find your tower, but then there can be problems with the fact that you start to get comfortable with another herd at a different level, and you have to be okay to push against those opinions and say, I don't mind if you're not comfortable with if who I am, what I'm doing, and go again and keep going forward in that visionary perspective because that's the only way. But at all levels, it keeps happening because you're growing.
I agree. I think somebody else gave me a great piece of advice once, and it was, every relationship is temporary.
Mhm.
Every relationship ends. Every single one ends at some point.
That's
Somebody
hard though.
dies,
Yeah. Yeah.
the other person dies, you both die, or you just have, or life just brings you in different directions. It doesn't mean you can't,
Mm,
they can't, and they can also disappear and reappear, but nothing's forever. Like this whole, I'm afraid of losing followers, losing friends. Like, you're going to lose followers, you're going to lose friends, you're going to lose family, you're going to lose all of it. It's all going to happen.
right. Right.
So do the best with the ones, like, what are we spending time cultivating things that really matter, or are we spending time looking for something else? And, I think there's, and you could be doing both. I think, culling the things that are negative, looking for things that are positive, but again, looking for the praise of the praiseworthy. Who are those people? Right. And it doesn't have to
Mm,
be somebody, it's not, I mean, I found myself when this book was about to launch, I did an event and I was there with a bunch of influencers who maybe haven't had the same level of financial success that I have, but you get in the room and everybody's focused on the quality of video and the frequency of posting, and I got sucked into that for a couple of weeks, and it was horrible.
mm.
Really
Stressful.
horrible. Really, really horrible. Because I got away from, but that's the competitive part of me, that if we're all sitting there, like, I don't want to go to any conference where I'm not, that's any sales conference where I'm not the number one salesperson. Like, if I'm going, if I'm in this world, I might as well win it,
Hmm.
kind of a thing. Because it's
Hmm.
like, all right, if this thing matters to me enough that I'm going to be in this group, in this
That's
audience, then I might as well do the thing. So, like, I'm not super enlightened, all the way to, but if I'm there, I want to be sitting at table one, not at table 873,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's just, again, if it matters, if it matters a little, if it matters, it matters, and if it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, it doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
so, to me, there's, yeah, really looking at who are those people, what are the things that matter to you, put yourself around those people, and understand that it is human nature to connect with the people around you, because we are social beings. We want to connect. We don't want to be alone.
Hmm.
That's the solitary confinement is cruel and unusual punishment. Humans have to be around other people. So you get to choose who you're around, and who you're around is gonna have a significant impact. And it may change. Like, everything changed, and the people in the group can change too. Somebody that you admired may change their interest, or somebody you and I might go on a journey that, hey, we both want to create $100 million of charitable dollars for a foundation, and then maybe there's a point in your life where or our point in my life, where something else becomes more important.
Everything's temporary. Yeah.
Everything's temporary. Everything's temporary. So enjoy what's there, and enjoy the journey. Whether the journey is, like, our new friendship is a couple weeks old.
Mm.
I hope it's a lot more than a couple weeks. But is it going to be a couple months? Is it going to be a couple years? Is it going to be a couple decades? I don't know. I'll
Who
enjoy every minute
knows?
of it for as long as it
Yeah.
goes.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
But I guess then the
Again,
question.
I can't control your end of it, and if something's more important to you, then I'm happy for you that you found something that drives you. Then that's the journey that I try to bring a lot of this stuff back to nature or back to hiking because I had a lot of my epiphanies hiking with my dad when I was trying to build a relationship with him
Mhm.
as an adult. And some people are walking with you on the path for a really long time. Some people you
Mhm.
only see in passing for a
Mm.
couple seconds. And I think that's, and just,
But
whatever that looks like.
that's an abundant mindset though. That is abundance in itself because you're okay to think about things to be transitory if they need to be. It's letting what go of what is, and it can just be, and then you're in flow and you're able to jump in the river and enjoy the river as you're going through it, making the most of it. So it's quite abundant way of thinking.
And I think I had a great conversation with my sister yesterday. I hadn't talked to her in a really long time. My youngest sister, it was my middle sister that passed away, but my youngest is still alive. And we had a great talk for an hour and a half while I was walking. And, um, you know, the, she's the one who set me on a different path of when I was really guilty that I had all these skills and I felt like I wasn't, after our other sister had died, the one who was transgender and had some mental illness and was over medicated to death. And, you start having survivor's guilt of I was given all these tools and she was given a kind of a tough hand to play. Um, and, and Jen's the one who said to me, who asked me the question, did you create all of these gifts of your own? Like, are these all your own?
Mm.
And I said, no, of course not. Like, these are, no, I feel guilty because these were gifts that I was given, the ability, math and solving problems and seeing things and, a very high IQ and an EQ and, I've given a lot of good gifts. Plus I'm a 6'2", 6'3" white guy in 21st century America. Like, it kind of gets easy. Doesn't get much easier. I wasn't born with money, but I was given a lot of gifts. So anyway, I felt very, I felt guilty. And it was her line that was, well, if you didn't create these gifts, you didn't create them, they were given to you. Why do you think that life is a cruel puzzle that you have to figure out how you're supposed to use them? And why can't you just have some faith that if the gifts were given to you, the opportunity to use them will also appear?
Beautiful.
And yeah, and again, like I said, I'm not a particularly religious person, but I'm also, I am an intelligent person, somewhat scientific in mathematician, that I look at the whole, I do realize that whatever design it was that put this whole thing together is so complicated that I also realize that I can't possibly understand how it all works.
Mm.
I can appreciate how it works. Much like a magic show, you go to the show, you enjoy the show, but you have no idea how the hell the magician did
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
I have a dear friend who's a great magician, but it's like, even for him, for faith, I said, dude, faith and magic are great because you don't have to know how it works to appreciate that it works. And so with the magic show, you don't know how these things happened, but do you need to know how they happened before you can enjoy it? It's not like you hated your time and then they showed you and then you had great appreciation. In fact, it's usually the opposite. You're super appreciative. And then if you learn how the trick is, it's not as exciting.
Right.
So,
Right.
so if in life, just appreciating that these things work and appreciating that there may be some type of plan or some grand design or something
But do you
is,
feel guided? Do you feel guided at all? Like obviously, the giraffe is being a happy nomad. Like they're nomadic in the sense of how they
yeah, yeah,
move
yeah.
around the world.
Well, they can be somewhat territorial, but they're not migratory. So you don't know where they're going to be. They're not following this crazy pattern, following the rains where you know exactly, I mean, not on the day, but you got a
Right.
really good idea. You know where they've been, you know where they're going to be, and you know where they're going to be after that. You just may not know the exact timetable. It's kind of like a train in Europe. It's coming. You really don't know when. Like, it's going to come. It's coming through the station, but it's kind of a bit of a guess. You got a
Yeah.
decent idea, right? So, that's travel through Europe is a lot like that. So it's um yeah, I mean, do I feel guided? I think what I feel at this stage in my life is I feel less pressure to figure it out, and I am confident that I'm open to the fact that things will happen and I may not be able to see the reason they're happening when they're happening, but I trust in the fact that I'll figure it out. Like, at some point it'll become clear and I
Hmm.
don't need to know now. So there's I think some liberation where I spend a lot of my life thinking there's something bigger, there's a holy grail, there's something I need, and I need to go figure it out. And I realized the harder I tried, the more stressed I became, and the further away I was from the answer, and the more I relaxed and just leaned into or opened myself to things. It's helped a lot. A year and a half of meditating every day was life changing, absolutely life changing. And I couldn't
Mm.
meditate. I had the crazy mind, always going a mile a
Hmm.
minute, couldn't sit still. I bought an app just to do some guided meditation to walk me through. It's your brain is supposed to work. You're supposed to have ideas. It's not about clearing your brain and being able to sit in nothingness. It's about having thoughts, and then you have that magical moment that you realize you're in thought as opposed to you're lost in thought. Like, I'm having a
Right.
thought, but I know that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And just little things like that lead to that feeling of equanimity, which is I'm aware what's going on, but I'm not attached to it. I'm unattached to the outcomes. I'm aware it's happening, and I'm not super stressed, and I'm not super anxious. And, I think that's been a huge help for me, for somebody whose brain was always going. I've written 18, 19, 20 books. Like, obviously I can be a little
Yeah.
manic. So, you know, yeah, it's just there. Yeah. So I don't know if guided is the right, I think there is some guiding in there. But amazingly, the less I try to control things, the more control I seem to have, or the less,
Wow.
maybe the less I tried to control things, the less out of control I felt.
So when you were striving to control everything and to climb the mountain or to get to that holy grail or to do to whatever you thought, it became uncontrollable.
Yeah. Well, it was never enough, right? You
Mm.
just keep pushing
Right.
and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And yeah, I mean, you have to work hard. I'm not going to say that you can just sit back and ohm your way to financial freedom, or, tap it out. I mean, I think all those tools are lovely, but you do have to get in there and do some work. But I
Mm.
think there's some trust in, for example, this whole separate building I have at my home, where I have the office and the gym and stuff. I spend a lot of time over here, but I call it my lab because this is where you can't see all the whiteboards on the other side. I mean, there's tons of them with thousands of
Right.
words on pictures. But I call this the lab, and I try to figure things out. And I'm a bit of a magician on the whiteboard when I'm figuring somebody else's problems out. But what I learned was I'm sitting in the lab trying to predict all these outcomes. I will do this, and then it will lead to this, and then it will lead to that, which will lead to this, which will lead to that. Then I write the assessment, then I write the book, then I build the website, then I build the funnel, and I realized, good God, I spent all this time, and all I needed to do was get out of the lab and get outside and go live and have a live conversation with a real person.
Mm.
And then I have real interaction. I'm not just guessing the game of chess.
Hypothetical.
Yeah, they're not hypothetical. This is all real.
Mm.
And I'm just finding that getting live, for anybody who's trying a new job, who wants to find their happy in a place, who wants to do something, it's stop planning and just stop planning, start being, like getting out there and trying. And from the trying and the interaction, you'll get real feedback, which will lead to real feelings, which will lead to real struggles, which will uncover real challenges, which, like that's a biggie. Just get out there and try the thing, because you just don't know, right? I mean, like, you could have planned this trip with every minute, but then you get there, you're like, huh, like, now that I'm here, I realize we're in the middle of it. Like, how often have you guys changed plans while you're there? Like, we thought we were going to do this thing on this day and this thing on that. We realized we could do all these things today, like, or the weather changes, or
Oh, for sure. We were supposed to go horse riding this morning, and they can't put two on a horse or something. So that plan's out the window, and we completely changed it up.
right. And the horse is grateful, but nobody's happier than the horse. But no, oh yeah, I don't know if I'm answering the question. But there's definitely a sense of getting out there, and you have to try things, and you have to interact with people, and don't be afraid, because all these things are temporary. And mean, there really aren't any failures because anybody you talk to, anything you pitch, anything you try to do, if you didn't try it, my takeaway on something is I never had exam anxiety. I never had job interview anxiety because pragmatically, I looked at an exam as before I go in, I have 0 points on the exam.
Mhm.
I am only going to get more points.
That's awesome.
Not I have a 90. If I don't get a 90, I don't keep a 90. It's I have a 0. And when
Mm.
I go, as soon as I sit down, I'm going to get a point. Like I'm going to get points every minute I'm in there. Yeah. It's all I can do is get points. An interview,
But
I
most
don't have.
people go
Yeah. If
100
you
and then
worry
go
about
down.
how many points you're going to lose, then you're going to lose a lot of points. If you worry about, and then a job interview was, I don't have the job. Like I don't have this job, which is why I'm interviewing. All I can do is increase my chances of having the job. So it's just, I just happen to look at it that way, that everything is, I can increase my chances. Or like, I'm not going to get the job sitting at home. So I'm not going to get into the college sitting at home. I'm not going to get the sale sitting at home. It just doesn't happen. And so you just go, okay, I got a chance. And sometimes you do well and sometimes you don't. And then you move on to the next one.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for sharing and rating this show. It helps us reach more people and spread the message. That message is the believe it as possible message. I want you to believe in you, believe in the situation, and believe in your bigger life. That's why I created the School of Success. It's a selection of short courses that can help boost your skill acquisition in negotiation, sales, and self-transformation. This is where it's at, and I want you to win. I want you to build your empire, the empire of you, and become more. So if you're looking to know how to deal with difficult people, to negotiate at an expert level, to sell, and to become more yourself, to develop your mindset, your confidence, to be able to then think about how to elevate your business, this might be for you. So head on over to the School of Success and look at the links in the show notes and get on over there and check out the short courses that we have for you.